Sometimes the careful plans with which robbers execute their moves are simply surprising. Such was the case in Polokwane. The whole incident was caught on camera. A man's day turned into a nightmare in an open market. A group of men were seen standing around a booth and wearing face masks. This man came up to the booth, probably to make some payments. However, fate had other plans for him. As he dropped his load, one of the waiting men held him from behind in a strangling position. The others proceeded to dip their hands in his pockets as other customers fled the scene. The robbers paid no mind to passers-by as they carried out their business and made away with the helpless man's valuables, smoothly blending into the crowd. Armored vehicles are both uniquely protected and vulnerable. On one hand, the drivers are often doubled up and armed. On the other hand, they cover quite a bit of distance with quite a bit of money. This clip captures the moments where a bunch of men pile out of their cars with massive machine guns, waiting for the armored vehicle to be unlocked so they can pile in and steal everything. They moved very quickly and were very ready when things needed to move. The driver, a mother of 3, was pushing a cart filled with money from the bank. With her hands in the air, she was forced to kneel as the other 2 men helped themselves to over $100,000 from the truck. The whole situation garnered a lot of attention, all the way up to the FBI. This Colorado driver was fired after the incident, as there are usually fail-safes in place to keep things from happening that clearly did fail. Being robbed when one least expects it is as painful as can be. This weirdly recessed man is about to witness something that would ruin his whole day. The video shows him flashing his $100 bills with a casual smile tugging at his lips and a cigarette in his mouth while he hummed pleasantly to himself. He seems to be having the time of his life when his joy is toppled. Just as he is having a good time, the door opens and a man's hand can be seen firmly holding a gun to the weirdo's neck. At first, he doesn't realize what is happening and looks behind him, still smiling, until he feels the gun on his neck and the robbers yelling at him to bring the money. After being unexpectedly robbed at gunpoint, the man tries to put on a brave face, saying it was all part of a setup. This jewelry store in Sunnyvale underwent what can only be described as mass burglary. It was a normal business day in June 2024 when a group of 20 robbers broke into the store. The video shows how they smashed display cases open, grabbing as many valuable items as possible. The crooks spread themselves across the store in order to cover more ground, but one could still tell that they were uneasy as they kept rushing from one counter to another, trying to get as much as possible. Done with their mission, they began to leave one after the other, up to the very last man. The authorities are still on the case, and we hope the perpetrators are brought to book. This video shows a brazen armed robbery in Queens, Jamaica, caught on camera. Three suspects walked into a grocery store and one pulled out a gun. Others went behind the counter and emptied the register of over just $1,000. The suspect took off on foot, and no one who was in the store was injured. Police are looking for help to find two men who are responsible for an armed robbery in southwest Miami-Dade.
For help to try to find two men responsible for an armed robbery in southwest Miami-Dade.
According to the police, the victim was in his yard when two people jumped the fence, pointed a gun at him, and demanded that he hand over his necklace. The victim handed it over, and the crooks took off.
His necklace. The victim handed over the jewelry, and the crooks took off running. If you know anything.
Some armed robbers keep coming up with new ways to carry out their craft without arousing too much suspicion. What this robber in East Haven did was pose as a delivery man who had a package for the homeowner. He approached the house and opened the door. The unsuspecting homeowner was coming to receive the brown package. The robber suddenly reached for his waist and pulled out a pistol, but the homeowner wasn't totally defenseless. He hit the robber on the chest with something, causing him to stagger backward. Perhaps releasing how futile his efforts were, the thief ran to a waiting car, got in, and fled. Four men walked into a smoke shop in Compton and attempted to commit armed robbery.
In this deadly shooting, happened 4 weeks ago, four men walked into a smoke shop in Compton, attempted to...
The security guard behind the counter pulled his gun out and a fatal shootout began. The guard was killed. Another employee was wounded but survived. Two suspects have been arrested, and two are still on the loose.
But survived. Two suspects have been arrested. The suspects still on the loose are Kalu Lundy and Keith Rachel. There are their pictures.
In this video, a surveillance camera shows a rather disturbing scene on a Brooklyn sidewalk.
In Brooklyn, surveillance video shows a 15-year-old girl being repeatedly stomped, punched, and kicked by multiple...
A 15-year-old is seen being thrown to the ground by members of a gang. She is repeatedly stomped on and kicked by multiple people. They took her debit card, phone, and sneakers before fleeing the scene.
They took her sneakers, a cell phone, and a debit card before running away. The victim was listed in stable condition.
A Chicago homeowner, Jason Williams, got an alert from his security camera that an intruder had broken into his house.
I looked, if there was an available weapon. There was a frying pan laying there, so I grabbed the frying pan.
There he is, chasing...
This clip shows him chasing the suspect out the front porch with a frying pan in hand. The homeowner takes another swing as the suspected burglar opens the gate and flees. But he didn't get away easily, as the cops immediately caught sight of him.
Out the front porch with a frying pan at the ready. The homeowner takes another swing as the suspected burglar opens the fence and flees.
An attempted robbery in Wissinoming ended with a double shooting. This incident happened on the 4200 block of East Cheltenham Avenue.
An attempted robbery ended with a double shooting in Wissinoming. It happened on the 4200.
The whole ordeal was caught on surveillance video. The video shows how the victim was able to wrestle the suspect's gun away, but a second suspect then opened fire.
East Cheltenham Avenue, around 1:50 yesterday afternoon. The entire incident was caught on surveillance video. Police say the victim was able to wrestle the suspect's gun.
While the victim was hit twice, he was able to shoot back, hitting the second suspect at least once. Reports are that the victim is in the hospital and in stable condition.
The second suspect then opened fire. The victim was hit twice, but was able to...
The next video shows a violent robbery that happened in Fairfield. This unsuspecting man, who just got home, was unprepared for what happened next. He was trying to open his door to go inside when a man dressed in all black came at him from behind. The robber held on to the man's right wrist, demanding if he had anything in his pocket. The victim tried to put up a fight, but was struck with a gun in the head.
Hey, shut up. Look, take everything out your pocket. No.
Becoming more submissive, the victim struggled less as the crook took his belongings and fled, while he hurriedly entered his house. The woman in this video is carelessly flashing a handful of dollar bills, casually flexing how much she has in hand. Apparently, she wanted to flaunt her comfortable lifestyle a bit, but reality dawned on her. What happens next is something that she'll never want to experience again. Her window was down, and by doing so, she's made herself an easy target. A pair of hands can be seen reaching through the window, grabbing all of her money and leaving just as fast as they came. She's left furious as she tries to open the door and go after the robber. These Apple workers in San Francisco were given the scare of a lifetime just as they were almost done for the day. In the video, the workers are seen standing by the tables on which Apple products are displayed, when suddenly, a group of 3 men barges into the store, start pulling iPhones from their charging cords, and dashing out through the door. Four days later, the same thing happened, but this time, the robbers were 4 in number, stealing phones, watches, and other gadgets. Approximately $100,000 worth of merchandise was stolen. This next snippet is a rather incredible story. It shows how Porch pirates went at it for a box right after it was delivered, and it was all caught on camera. This incident happened in Sinking Spring Borough, Pennsylvania, while the residents were home. The 2 men had pulled up in separate cars when the package was delivered. One picked up a flower pot to fend off the attack. According to the homeowner, the box contained a phone from AT&T, and he didn't even know how the suspects found out it was being delivered. The cops are still searching for those 2 suspects. Brazen daytime robbery attempt was captured on security video. The whole thing happened near Melrose Avenue and Vista Street in the Fairfax area.
A brazen daytime robbery attempt captured on security video. Look at this. It happened near Melrose Avenue and Vista Street. This is in the Fairfax area.
The video shows how 2 men got out of their car and confronted the person in the blue shirt. The man, sensing that he was about to be robbed, pulled out a gun and fired at the men.
Investigators say 2 men got out of their car and confronted the person in the blue shirt, believing he was about to be robbed. That man pulled out a gun and fired.
The would-be robbers, knowing that their mission had failed, went running for their lives, but police captured them soon after.
The would-be robbers went running and police captured them soon after. Now the LAPD is asking for help in finding the person with the blue shirt.
The following video shows a very disturbing robbery attempt captured by a surveillance camera on August 17, 2018. This is an experience that the victim definitely prefers not to have again. The video shows a woman coming out of her car with a handbag that contains $75,000 that she had just withdrawn. As she approached her door, another car pulled up a distance away, and her assailant got out, running towards her. The crook immediately grabbed a hold of the bag, but she wouldn't let go. It turned into a struggle, and the woman's husband came out to help her. However, while the couple wrestled the crook, another criminal came out of the same car and joined him. The struggle lasted for a while, with the woman being dragged on the ground as she absolutely wouldn't let go of the bag. The newly arrived crook got into the car and put it in reverse, critically injuring the woman. Police say they arrested 3 people in connection with that robbery. Small businesses are easy targets for robbery, especially ones that deal in cash. This laundromat is no exception in its location in dangerous South Memphis. 2 men make their way quickly into this laundromat, armed as they rush into the place. There was only one person on shift that night, as 2 men covered from head to toe came rushing into the location with their guns already drawn. One of them seemed to have a really serious rifle, of all things. The men stole an undisclosed amount of cash. This might be a truly excellent reason to go ahead and find yourself a new job. At least most people might consider it at this point. And the only person on duty during the incident did quit.
Anything but joy at O'Joy Laundromat nearly 2 weeks ago during an armed robbery. In this video, you can see 2 men covered from head to toe run into the business with their guns drawn.
This robber will think twice before robbing another store if he survives this one. In 2016, 2 robbers picked a gun store in Mapleton, Georgia, as their place of business. The video shows how they entered the store while holding an employee at gunpoint. They approached the register, but that was the mistake that one of them will remember forever. The white-haired store owner was not a person to mess with. Seeing the robbers approaching with a gun, he quickly drew his own gun and fired repeatedly, killing one of them on the spot. He then fired at the second one, who ran off. These desperate men really thought that they'd gotten away with their heist. In the dead of night, they hooked up their truck to an ATM and used the car to bust it open. It worked, but only for a while. As the men escaped the scene of the crime, they likely had no clue that they were being recorded and documented, and would soon be hauled off to be held accountable. The rest of the clip shows the resulting fallout of that behavior. The near immediate arrests by quick-acting police officers from Orange County. There isn't much to this clip except for their arrest, but it just goes to show that even when you think you're getting out scot-free, you can't account for everything. For safety, whether in the middle of the night or the light of day, one needs to stay aware of their surroundings and be prepared for anything. A man went to withdraw money at an ATM, and things turned sour for him. When the armed assailant approached him, the 57-year-old man didn't see it coming. With a gun pointed at the back, there's hardly a thing one can do, right? The chilling surveillance video catches the incident as the man in the black hoodie rounds up behind the unsuspecting victim right as he puts his card into the ATM. In the video, one can see the gunman dictating just how much money he needs to take out and give him. All of this could have been avoided if he'd just been aware of what was going on behind him. Security cameras were rolling at 12:43 Saturday morning as police say this masked man entered the restaurant with a revolver and demanded money.
As police say this masked man entered the Santa Ana restaurant with a black revolver and demanded money. Watch as he throws a bag at one of the workers and hands shake.
The video shows how the crook throws a bag at one of the workers, and with hands shaking, obviously in fear, she fills the bag with cash from the register. Without warning, a shot is fired at the robber. As he takes the shot, one can see the explosion hitting the top of the drink machine.
She fills it with cash from the register. We've slowed it down and highlighted what happened next. As he grabs and takes the bag, shots fired. You can see the explosion of a bullet.
He turns around in shock and is seen going down to the ground as one bullet appears to hit him in the back.
Cup at the drink
drink machine. He turns, and then we see him go down to the ground as at least one bullet appears to hit him in the back. 3 bullets. Cook Daniel Acevedo.
Perhaps an unconventional location for a robbery, but this robber in a white shirt subjected the helpless Barber to it in the middle of the day. Unsuspecting, the man is able to walk in unannounced, as though he needs a haircut. He begins showing off his weapon, threatening the Barber, who, out of fear, throws everything of value into a plastic bag. The Barber is as compliant as he can be, giving him what looks like his wallet and everything else in sight. Just moments before he makes his escape, the Barber makes a grab at him. He grabs something right at the end that maybe the man didn't want to lose, but the robber points the gun at him, causing him to let go. In the end, the robber manages to get away with approximately $30,000 worth of stolen goods and money, running off into the Bronx streets. It's a bit natural that when you're going home, your defenses might be a little down. This man, in particular, doesn't seem to know anything is coming. The video opens up as the ring camera catches a man and 2 women embracing at what is likely the end of their night. Suddenly, from behind the cars, a man comes in, waving his gun around and threatening them as he demands their money, wallets, and more. The video opens up as the ring camera catches a man and 2 women embracing at what is likely the end of their night. Suddenly, from behind the cars, a man comes in, waving his gun around and threatening them as he demands their money, wallets, and more. Nobody seemed to get hurt, and hopefully they could call for help soon after, or at least get support after what they'd been through.
Get against the wall. Get against the wall. Get against the wall. Get against the wall. This wall over here. This wall over here. Don't turn around. If you turn around, I'm gonna shoot you in your leg. This way. This way. This way. Get against the wall. Get against the wall.
Anything the FBI gets involved in has to be something externally serious. This bank robbery in Coral Springs was bold and dangerous for everyone involved, like something out of a crime movie.
Watch as 2 likely robbery professionals knock over a Coral Springs credit union. It is a textbook operation.
The camera catches 2 men in the middle of a textbook operation. They move quickly with no hesitation as they run into the bank. One man jumps over the counter and then allows the other man in. There was enough time for them to make it in, but the credit union employee couldn't react quickly enough. She's rushed in by her assailant.
Knock over a Coral Springs credit union. It is a textbook operation. One guy over the counter, his sidekick waiting for him to open the door to the back office and access to the vault. From a second camera, the female credit union employee opens the door and the crook makes a move into the vault area.
They take enough money to clear out the vault and then run out. They get away, dumping one bike, only to quickly switch and go to their real car, which was also caught on CCTV. These men likely stole enough money to hunker down and lay low, and they are being accused of orchestrating a string of robberies that FBI agents haven't seen before.
How well planned? The duo escapes out of the credit union on a motorcycle, large bag of cash in tow. But they planted their real ride nearby. The FBI got this video of a black Chrysler 300 with...
Desperate burglars are oftentimes brazen with their acts, and these 2 men felt confident enough, they were armed with a crowbar, to pop off the window and break into this small residence without even the cover of night. A man can be seen working off the window frame, careful not to break the window, before stopping to make sure no one was watching. Slowly, one scans the area, seemingly having heard something, before his accomplice comes up through the side. The 2 of them work with their tools to pop off the window frame, moving slowly and steadily to avoid making too much noise or breaking the glass altogether. It takes roughly 2 minutes for them to get the window pried open enough to make their way into the building in a smooth movement. The burglar hoists himself up and through the window. Imagine being the neighbors at home when all of this is happening, but chances are no one even caught on. It was so quiet and so smooth, they probably would have gotten away with it. Apparently, one doesn't need a weapon if there's a massive truck. This liquor store in Colorado was rammed into by a burglar's Hummer.
A Colorado liquor store was robbed twice in one night, according to the owners, who are hoping to find the people.
They broke in, planning to steal an ATM. However, it was bolted into the ground, so they had to take less traditional means to make it happen. They smashed into the site again and again until they believed it was dislodged. Using a chain connected from the truck to the machine, they tried, but the chain snapped.
Since it was bolted to the ground, according to the owner, it seems the suspects determined the best way to loosen it would be to hit it with the vehicle. So the driver backed the Hummer up and rammed it into the store again.
Their second attempt wasn't any more successful, so they got together and tried to pull the chains with their hands. They got the crypto machine to the bed of the truck. After their fourth attempt, they broke through and took the cash boxes.
At the ATM, they broke it apart and were able to make off with the cash box inside, according to the owner. He says he was...
The suspects got away, but later, upon watching security cameras, it was discovered that a second robber had made his way into the busted side of the building and went through the insides. Hopefully, the owner's insurance was going to cover it because, as far as losses go, this was a big one.
Up, the suspects were gone. When the owner showed up hours later, he says he was robbed yet again when someone went through the store and helped themselves to merchandise. The owner says he hopes his insurance will cover the damage to the store, but he's missing out on income while he has to close the store until it can be repaired.
Banks are where we keep money, so someone has to work there, but it would be terrifying as far as workplaces go. With the amount of money these people handle, it's rather surprising that these crimes don't happen more often.
Take a good look at this crystal clear surveillance video. Do you know who this is? The video shows what looks like a young woman who calmly approaches a Comerica bank. She walks up to the bulletproof glass with a piece of paper demanding money, claiming to be armed with a bomb. Glass. She doesn't say a word, but hands the teller a piece of paper.
She walked up to the teller, gave the teller a...
She slowly left on foot after the whole situation was done and dealt with in just a matter of minutes. Whether she was actually armed with a bomb or not, the teller's actions quickly defused the situation, and nobody was in danger, so to speak.
Her lips still not moving. She takes the money, turns around, ducks underneath the divider belt, and walks out as smoothly as she came in. She's wearing a gray hat.
The bank offered a $200,000 reward to catch this criminal, but she did well enough to get away without too much notice. While some people don't like having surveillance cameras in their homes, in this case, it proved to be very useful as it caught a pretty thorough break-in by a few people. How else could one explain how a bunch of men smashed in a person's door after jumping over the fence? The man who was burglarized had had this happen before, learning from his first experience and covering his property in surveillance. The men used a rock to break into the house, spending roughly 3 minutes stealing a jewelry box, a laptop, and a few other items. Later, the homeowner wasn't sure what to do next. Clearly, this is a pattern of behavior, and even a gated community like this isn't safe. Sometimes a night can take a sharp turn in the middle of things. This happens a lot at fast food places. A man walks in wearing a white hoodie and begins a transaction with the cashier. Once the register is open, the McDonald's cashier is surprised as the assailant waves a knife at him, pointing it directly at the cashier. The employee backs up, allowing the suspect to reach forward over the counter and remove all the money from the cash drawer. A second employee comes up as the suspect darts back through the exit, dropping money on his way out. At most, we're looking at about $100 to $200 in the cash drawer, but the skill and speed with which he enacted his heist make it probably worth his effort. Burglaries don't always happen in the dead of night. Sometimes it's at the crack of dawn. At just 2 in the morning, the CCTV camera caught the actions of a burglar as he scoped out his location. He walks up to a house, reading a banner slowly, ensuring he's all clear. He then circles around the location and finds an entry point, but is quickly joined by a second set of people who didn't notice him. The robber makes his way into the catering box, and one would expect him to steal expensive things. However, what he emerges with is simply unbelievable. Stealing what he can, he emerges with a plastic trash can, which is, to say, not very much. All in all, he steals about 50 euros, which doesn't seem worth all the trouble. He then makes his way out, now carrying a plastic bin and a Santa suitcase, and leaves as quietly and stealthily as he came. Some of the most terrifying crimes are handled calmly and without emotion. The robbers in this situation make their way into the house without issue, covered from head to toe. They slowly move into the living room, completely unaware that they're being filmed. Calmly, they begin discussing what they plan on stealing. There's a method to it. Nothing too big, only things they can pick up and walk out without issue. They make a second round on their way in, coming back for more stuff. The sterile way they make their way through the house, their practiced movements. It's unclear whether these men have done this before, but it's hard to imagine it's a first-time job. More importantly, how to do it right. This next snippet from a surveillance camera shows the moment when an armed robber found himself face-to-face with the muzzle of a store clerk's gun. The would-be robber entered this liquor store confidently with the hope of making away with some cash, but luck was not on his side. As he pulled out his gun to demand money, the clerk drew his own gun faster and pointed it at him, clearly more experienced. It turned out that the clerk was a former military man with 30 years of service. So far from being scared, he put the robber in his place. This insane robbery took place in just a few minutes, with some explosive results. In the dead of night, this crew, covered nearly head to toe, sets up their explosives around the ATM. They stand around for just a few moments from a safe distance, and suddenly the corridor lights up. The explosives go off, and the men mobilize. It's all very smooth in practice. It's like these men are professionals. The men swarm into the blast zone and quickly run out. This might seem like an extreme, but it certainly did work, effortless almost in a truly terrifying sort of way.